अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा सलामती काउंसिल में पाकिस्तान के मुस्तक़िल मंदूब आसिम इफ्तिखार ने अपने खिताब में यह मुतालबा किया। पाकिस्तान का इंसानी हमदी के कारकुनान और UN अमले के तहफ़्फ़ुज़ का मुतालबा दोहराया। आसिम इफ्तिखार ने कहा, इमदादी कारकुनों पर हमले शहरियों के तहफ़्फ़ुज़ के निज़ाम को कमज़ोर कर रहे हैं। मुस्तक़िल मंदूब ने कहा, सलामती काउंसिल करारदाद 2730 पर फ़ौरी और मुस्तक़िल अमल दरामद यकीनी बनाया जाए। पाकिस्तानी मुस्तक़िल मंदूब ने कहा, आलमी बरादरी शहरियों और तबाही के दरमियान हायल अफराद का दिफ़ा करे।
USG Tom Fletcher, 𝐢𝐬𝐤𝐿, and permanent observer of OICRC, Elise Nicole Moschini, for their complimentary and most valuable briefings encompassing the various dimensions of this subject. We also welcome the permanent representative of Switzerland to this meeting. Today's discussion is about more than the safety of humanitarian workers and United Nations personnel. It is about whether the international community is prepared to defend those who stand between civilians and catastrophes. Humanitarian workers and UN personnel, including peacekeepers, serve in the harshest and most dangerous environments. They deliver food, medicine, and shelter. They sustain UN mandates on the ground, and they help preserve the minimum conditions necessary for the protection of civilians. So when they are attacked, obstructed, or intimidated, it is the civilians who suffer the most. The continued rise in attacks against humanitarian and UN personnel reflects a dangerous erosion of respect for international law. These are not isolated incidents. They are part of a broader pattern in which the norms governing armed conflict are being ignored with alarming frequency and impunity. If those who carry out humanitarian action and UN responsibilities are no longer protected, then the entire edifice of civilian protection is weakened. That is why Resolution 2730 reaffirmed the obligation of all parties to armed conflict to respect and protect humanitarian workers, including local aid workers and UN personnel. The Secretary General's recommendations have provided a useful framework for follow-up. What is needed now is implementation with seriousness, urgency, and consistency. Allow me to make the following points in this regard. First, the starting point must be the implementation of international humanitarian law. Humanitarian workers and UN personnel, including peacekeepers, must be respected and protected in all circumstances. Second, accountability must be strengthened. Impunity only invites repetition. And when such attacks are not met with consequences, the result is predictable. Increase and risks deepen. Investigations must therefore be prompt, impartial, transparent, and effective. Perpetrators must be identified and held accountable. Third, when threats to humanitarian and UN personnel become widespread or systematic in situations on the Council's agenda, the Council must respond credibly. In this regard, the implementation of Resolution 2730 must be fully operationalized through practical measures under UN auspices. Three-pronged measures, I would say, to improve monitoring of attacks, reporting on trends, and follow-up on investigations. Fourth, protection must be better integrated into operational planning. Humanitarian personnel and UN staff are often most vulnerable during mission transitions, peacekeeping drawdowns, and rapidly deteriorating security conditions. These periods require anticipatory planning, adequate resources, and close coordination among all stakeholders. Fifth, humanitarian access must be protected from both physical attack and administrative obstruction. bureaucratic restrictions, visa delays, customs blockages, communication disruptions, and other overly restrictive measures can all paralyze life-saving work. Humanitarian exemptions must therefore be clear and workable. Finally, we must comprehensively address the challenges posed by disinformation, misinformation, and incitement that create hostility towards humanitarian actors and UN personnel. President, it goes without saying that the impact of all the above actions and many of the pertinent proposals and ideas put forward by colleagues around the table will be reinforced if this Council could do better on conflict prevention and resolution and mediation and early action, as the Ambassador of Liberia emphasized, and all for promoting peaceful settlement of disputes in accordance with the UN Charter. But in the meanwhile, those who protect civilians must not themselves be left unprotected. Pakistan remains passionately committed to supporting all efforts aimed at strengthening the safety, security, and dignity of humanitarian workers, UN staff, and peacekeepers. And we are ready and willing to work with all members of the Council and the wider UN membership to collectively advance practical measures in this regard. I thank you.